Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm a former Boeing 737 pilot, and welcome to the CSS Boeing 737-500. In today's first look we want to get a first impression of the aircraft. We are going to talk about what they're doing good, what they need to improve on, and I'm going to give a general overview of the modeling, texturing, sounds, flight dynamics, and of course systems of the CSS 737-500. What I am not going to judge in today's video is the pricing and the purchase models for the aircraft. As you guys are probably aware, the aircraft comes as a subscription model, which starts at $5 for a single month, which in my opinion is great for trying the airplane out yourself, so that everyone can get the impression if they want to buy it or not. And then you also have other models for longer times, but with much higher prices. So I'm not going to give opinions on the rest of the pricing except for that first month for $5, because obviously everyone has a different opinion on how much a dollar is worth to them, respectively how much $150 are worth to them. And I do therefore understand that while some people may find that price to be high but not unacceptable, others may find it to be utterly too much and completely unacceptable. So this is something that you'll have to make up on your own. What I want to do is to show you the aircraft so that you have a basis on which you can make that decision. And well, with that out of the way, I suggest we're going to get straight into this. But I have to add one more thing over here, and that's how I got the airplane. Hashtag full transparency. So originally I wanted to purchase a 1-month subscription to the airplane in order to be able to review it for you guys. I purchased the code, but for some reason I got an error in the installer, and so I had to contact the support of CSS. And when they learned that I'm a YouTuber, they immediately upgraded me to a free lifetime license. So do have that in mind as we're going through today's airplane. And with that out of the way, I suggest we're going to get straight into it and start our flight from SimNord's new Copenhagen airport over to Orb Axis Gothenburg, which is a quick 30-minute flight in which we'll have all the time we need to review this airplane. And now let's get straight into this. We are going to have a more detailed look into the cabin once we're en route. For now, this is a general overview of what the cabin looks like. Now let's go ahead, open up that flight deck door and take a seat in the flight deck of our 737. Now we are going to start with a couple of basics over here. And obviously you guys can already make up your mind about the modeling, which in my opinion is pretty good. The airplane just looks very much like a 737. I do like the model, especially inside the cockpit. The outside of the cabin are a little bit less detailed, but we'll get to that. Now, let's start going down into the electronic flight back down here, and I'm going to show it to you right in action. So we'll start with the aircraft options. Over here you can do a couple of things like change the default state and help enable some more click spots, synchronize the altimeters. Since you do have analog ones over here, it's rather a lot of dialing in this airplane. IRS fast alignment is available. You can change some airline configuration options. You can change some things like the units, planned fuel, a toga runway position update. Remember, this airplane does not have GPS. It's a 737-500. They are not GPS equipped. But don't worry, it's pretty easy to operate it nonetheless. And I'll talk a little bit about that as we go on with our flight. Well, and then finally a couple of EFB settings that we've got available down here. Now we're going to start on the ground ops tab today. We are going to request a GPU, which is, well, arriving at the moment. Once this blue box over here is full, then the GPU will have arrived. So that's something going on in the background over here. And now that the GPU is here, let's go ahead and power it up. So we'll start with the battery down here. Let's turn that one on. Then we'll also turn the ground power unit on. And you can already hear that characteristic clacker of the standby attitude indicator. Oh, sorry, of the standby altimeter, of course. There would be a circuit breaker for that hidden somewhere down here, but no, I'm not going to teach you how to use that, because obviously nobody would ever use it in the real airplane, right? Well, let's just say so. Let's pretend so. Alright, now let's go ahead with our airplane's wake up. Now we are going to just close the emergency exit lights. Attendant call button is checked. Takeoff config warning is checked. Then let's go downstairs and test our fire extinguishers, which are looking good. Let's also go over here and test the squibs, which are also looking good. Cargo fire is looking good, and down here everything is set. Now let's continue up to the overhead panel, where we are going to test the flight recorder. So now that we put it back to norm, well, we should have got the off light over here. Alright, so overspeed warning test, stick shaker test. Alright, that's looking good. IRS. Going to nav, and leading edge flap devices are looking good. Emergency equipment will pretend it is all on board. The axe surely is. Sorry, I meant the unruly passenger silencing device. Well, and with that we can take a seat in the cockpit of the 737. Now, let's first of all start by turning up the brightness of all of our screens. Buttons are nicely hidden down here on the control panel. So we're gonna turn you up. We are gonna turn, well, you up. The same on our colleague side, of course. Let's get all of those things live, like that. And that brings our buttons to life. The next thing, we also want to get our FMS, so that one's got a dedicated brightness switch up here and up here, which is now live as well. And then finally, we could bring up some of the background lights here. We do want to bring up the background lights for the center panel, which are located down here, as that is going to make our fuel gauges, should make our fuel gauges visible, shouldn't it? Interesting. Let me see. Probably it's any of those. Yeah, here we go. Panel lights all the way up. Here we go. Now this is an interesting one, and on the 737NG that I flew, there was actually still a remnant of this, in that when the panel light was turned off, you basically couldn't see the clock, like we have it over here. Now PMDG didn't simulate that on their 737, that's why you're probably not used to this, but yeah, on the NG, we still had it over here. On the Classic, you have it over here as well, so make sure that your panel lights are up down there. And the same, of course, for the FO as well. Alright, cool. With that, our airplane is now live, and we can officially take a seat over here. So let's go ahead and start with a couple of basics, and that's going to be our flight plan. So we'll go down into the SimBrief app. We've got our recently generated plans over here, and I do want this one. So, Scandinavian 430 from Copenhagen to Gothenburg. All of our weights are checked down here. Now let's go down to the weather. Copenhagen, pretty good weather for our departure, and then Gothenburg has likewise very good weather conditions. Since Copenhagen is our alternate, yeah, we have a couple gusts, but they're almost down the runway, so absolutely nothing to worry about. Now let's go back up into the top of our flight plan and into the fuel section. So we're supposed to take 4.5 plus 400 kilos taxi, so if we round it up to 5,000 kilos of fuel, then we should be totally fine. So let's go back into the ground ops, to the load page. Now, over here, our SimBrief data has automatically been imported, and I just want to increase the fuel to 5,000 kilos over here. We'll do a realistic loading, and then let's go ahead and start that already so that our loading can commence. Lovely. The only thing that's a little bit quicker than real life is the refueling, which happens instantly. Alright, and that's our initial setup completed down here. Now passengers start getting on board, so let's ensure the fasten seatbelt sign comes on as well. And, well, temperature is 18 degrees, so we should be just about fine without air conditioning, but let's just check up here. Passenger cabin. Why does that read 0? Well, that's not supposed to be. Is the gauge inoperative, maybe? Well, supply duct is at around about 18, so it should be the same temperature in the cabin as well. Let's just go ahead and turn the recirc fans off on. Those are never supposed to be off in the first place. Alright, and then we can start with our FMS. So we'll start up here on index and ident, and we've got a 737-500 with a 20k rating. You'll notice that the database is out of date by default here, but I did already update the data through Navigraph. So what we need to do, you can see it's in the standby database down here, so we'll copy that one. Well, let's clear that scratch pad message here. Completely, please. Now we'll copy that, paste it up here into the active, and now the current nav database is active and getting used. But let's go forth with our FMS setup. It's fairly quickly in the 737. We'll also make sure that we've got our flight plan down here so that it's easiest for us to set everything up, since unfortunately we can't move the EFB. Now, set IRS position. You'll notice you do not have a GPS in the 737-500. So what you'll do is, if the last position is accurate, you can use that. Otherwise, you can use your airport and gate if available. So we're in Alpha 9 over here, so let's go ahead and use that, Alpha 9. And as we can see, that is actually available in the database. So now let's copy and paste that into the GPS position, or rather into the IRS position, and here we go. Now let's continue on to the route page. We're departing Copenhagen, we're flying towards Echo Sierra Golf Golf. Our flight number is going to be Scandinavian 430, and remember to put the call sign in here if that is different from the flight number. In today's case it isn't, so it's easy. Now, departure and arrival. We are going to depart runway 22 right, and we've got the Vadar to Charlie departure, which is available right over here. Now let's go to route and enter the route, which is going to be Lima 997 towards Risma. Like that, here we go. And now for the arrival, we are arriving in Gothenburg with an ILS approach to runway 21. Our arrival is the Risma 3 Sierra arrival. Here it is, and that's it. Alright, so route, activate, and execute. Now let's go forth to the performance in it. Cost index is 30. The reserves today, let's see, are 1.5 plus 1.2, so that's 2.7. Our planned zero fuel weight is 46.3. Cruising level 220. The cruise winds, well, average is 0, so we can basically keep 0 in there. Or we just enter anything from here, so 258 at 12, for example. 258 at 12. Temperature up there is minus 26. So let's enter that one. And for the transition altitude, we always want to add a feet so that VNAV intercepts the correct altitudes. Let's execute that, go forth to the takeoff page, and over here we need to enter our current outside air temperature. So that's 18 degrees. That's something that you guys may not be too used to from the 737NG. And over here you can see we can't actually pre-select any VNAV stuff. So just keep that in mind. Now let's go forward to the client page. 250 below 100 is in here, and it's actually 250 below 70 in Denmark, so we can replace that over here. Should be able to replace that at least. Does it need 070 on this one? Yeah, okay, that's fine. Execute. Alright, lovely. So that good stuff is all in, and the last thing I'm going to do is to enter Copenhagen in here, and a 25-mile ring. Here we go. And, well, that's all we need. So that's our FMS setup completed for the time being. Now with that out of the way, let's get right back into our standard seat position here and start working on our flight deck. So, yaw damper is coming online. Well, we can't call it nav transfer display switches because we don't have display switches in here. So that's set. Fuel pumps are all coming on. Then we can check the exhaust feed. So it goes bright and then goes dim. Now we close that one again. And it goes bright and then off. And then we do press the light to test it, because the light is attached to the same circuit breaker as the valve. So if the breaker pops, you are not going to notice it, basically until it's too late. Yeah, welcome to the 737. Beautiful airplane. So click spots sometimes a little bit hard to reach on the window heat panel up here. Hydraulic pumps are coming online. Then the packs come online. Now let's go for the pressurization panel. For the cruise level we need 220. Here we go, landing altitude. Let's quickly figure that one out. So go to the lax page, previous page, runway 556 feet. It's always 50 feet above the field elevation, so we're looking at 500 feet landing altitude. And I'm not talking about the thousands. Here we go. So 500. Here we go. Alright, ground mode is selected, auto mode is selected, that's just fine. Position lights on a steady, wheel weld lights coming on. We do have maintenance here, so we will be using the right igniter. Then let's go down to our MCP. Flight director switches are coming on. Now the speed is already at the minimum, that's just about fine. Next up we need some charts, so let's go down to the electronic flight bag. And let's go over to the Navigraph page, and I actually really like the implementation over here. So let's go for taxi charts. We need the airport and the parking, and then we also need a SID. And if we just press that button up here, we get straight back to the flight plan so that we can gather that data, which is the Veda to Charlie. Now let's press the button down here and we go straight back, which makes it pretty nice. So Veda to Charlie, let's pin that one, and up here are all of our pinned charts. We also do have some general airport information, including the elevation over here, which is pretty useful. And down here you also have the weather button where you can get the latest weather. So that's pretty useful stuff that we've got down here. As you can see, winds have already calmed down a little bit. QNH 1024, good stuff. So right back into the Navigraph charts, and we're looking for our SID. And let's see, initial track is 217, so let's set that one up on the courses. So 217, same for the heading bug. So 217, initial climb I think is 70 here in Copenhagen, so let's set 7.1, and then 217 for the right course as well. Now I would appreciate if I could move my view. That's still a little bug of FS when you've got a mouse wheel that allows you to turn that quickly, then it kind of locks your view in place for a little bit. A little annoying, but here we go. Alright, and 217 is set as well. Speed is at the minimum, that's just fine. Now let's test the indicator lights. Then we'll do the general light test. And everything is looking very good everywhere. So we'll keep them on bright. And on the right hand side we're going to test you as well. Lovely. Now getting to our main instrument panel. The clock is in, well, it's always in GPS mode on this plane. Now we don't need to set any of the airspeed box yet. By the way, I'm not sure if you can actually see it on our video, but the ADI is actually slightly flickering, giving us a little bit of that CRT effect. Now, you're gonna know if you like that one or not. If you zoom out a little bit, it stops, but it's a fairly interesting effect down here. Now, for our QNH, we've got 1024 on our primary altimeter, then we'll set 1024 on the standby altimeter. We'll also set the bug to the field elevation. We'll align the standby, which is looking excellent. So, auto brake into RTO, and on your side 1024 is set as well. Lovely, that looks good. Now let's move down. The weather radar goes onto weather and turbulence, tilt 5 degrees up. We don't need to do the GPWS test actually, so that's fine. Then let's move down, make sure the park and brake is set. Here we go. For our comms, let's see what we're actually gonna need. So we'll start on the general airport chart over here. And let's also close that info page. So let's see what we've got. Departure 8 is 122.855. We can tune that on the right hand side here. 122.855. Here we go, and we'll just keep that in standby for the time being. Then clearance is on 119.905. Yeah. Why did that park and brake release? No, keep set please. So 119.905, here we go. Now what's interesting, the 737 Classic actually has automatic tuning of nav aids, which the NG no longer has. So yeah, we'll just set it to auto and that's it. Come on, park and brake, you stay set. What's the problem? Does it have no brake pressure anymore? And actually, where's the indicator on the Classic? Here it is. Nope, it's fine. Okay, cool. So, nav display set to map. Range 10, that's basically all good. And then VHF 1, VHF 2, and flight interphone, and we'll put that on the speaker as well. And the same on the other side as well. Lovely. So, I do want airport information displayed on my NDs. And that's it. Excellent. And that's our aircraft setup completed. So, with that out of the way, all we've got to do now is to cross-check our SID. So let's do that. We'll go down into the plan mode over here. Here we go. So, plan, here it is. And then let's go ahead and have a look. So, on the SID chart, we are following the Veda 2 Charlie departure, straight out to Rubat, then a right turn Charlie Hotel 815, which we've got. Then it's a right again via 816 to North Pole and then to Veda. And in here we've got 816 North Pole Veda. Easy. And down here flight level 70 is indeed the first level, and that is set. Lovely. And that's basically our setup completed. So let's go ahead and start with our clearance before we are going to do the briefing and everything, just to ensure that we don't have to do all that stuff twice. So let's see, VHF 1 is selected, 119905 is on there for the delivery frequency. Lovely, that's all we need. Got making delivery, Scandinavian 430, request IFR clearance to Gothenburg. So, is that actually working? Doesn't sound like it, does it? Okay, well, in that case, we are just going to try that again. Actually, it's my PTT that's not working. My apologies for that. Gonna quickly set that up in the background. In the meantime, let's see how our boarding is actually going. So let's go down here and ground ops. Well, they are slow today. Really slow. That's not really realistic. Let's do instant. Okay, loading completed. That's kinda easier, isn't it? Definitely is. Cockpit delivery Scandinavian 430, request IFR clearance to Gothenburg. That should be the easier thing here.
I'll grab that clearance. Give me just a minute.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so, while they're getting the clearance, well, not much for us to do, huh? So let's hope that the clearance is going to come through any moment now.
Scandinavian 430, information Charlie is current, clear to Gothenburg via the Veda 2 Charlie departure, runway 22 right, initial climb to 7,000, departure on 118.455, squawk 2724.
Scandinavian 430, clear to Gothenburg, Veda 2 Charlie departure, runway 22 right, climb maintain, flight level 70, departure 118.455, squawk 2724.
Scandinavian 430, read back correct. Ground is on 121.905, safe flight, sir.
121.905, Scandinavian 430, bye. Okay, so let's check. We are on 2 to right, Veda 2 Charlie departure, initial 70, 118.455 is the departure, and 2724.
Emmanuel, boarding has started and the first passengers are aboard the plane. Goddag, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome aboard.
So 2724 is in here,
heading to Gothenburg.
and the rest is looking good. Wonderful. So with that, our clearance is inserted and checked. Let's clear the scratch pad, and then off we go. So for our departure briefing, we are departing Copenhagen, runway 22 right, Veda to Charlie, initial 70, MSA 3000, and extra fuel and time is 100 kilos, which is basically nothing. But weather is splendid. Alright, hotspots for the taxi routing. We've actually got a couple of them, so let's quickly have a look into that. So, taxi chart. We are standing up here on the Alpha gates. We are going to push back into the alley and then taxi out somewhere over here, crossing runway 1230 and then straight out to the Alpha gate. So, the main hotspot I have for this taxi is actually that little intersection at the runway down there. Because over here it's very easy to accidentally turn onto Charlie rather than Alpha, so we gotta make sure we keep to the right, but not going to Foxtrot 2. Well, and that's the main one I have for this departure. Stop margin should be more than enough, and in the engine out it's straight at 25 miles, pick up the holding in 3000, which is above the MSA of 1700 over here. We can come back runway 22 left, which has good weather conditions, more than long enough, nothing to worry about. For our departure, I've got nothing special, nothing non-standard, and that's pretty much it. Any questions? No? Lovely, so that's our briefing complete. Now let's go into the performance app. We are going to depart. It's a bit of a pity that we cannot just import that stuff automatically, but, well, you can't do that in the real world either. So we're going off from Copenhagen. And that's done. The runway is going to be 22 left. Let's wait until it's loaded. I kind of like these features. It would just be nice to have a little bit better input abilities. So, runway 22 right. Flaps 5, anti-ice off, bleeds on. Nothing on the MEL. We've got 20k engines on this aircraft. Now, let's go ahead and review that weather real quick. So, let's just request the latest.
Ryanair, 4 Sierra Papa. Request push and start clearance.
290 at 10, 19 degrees, 1024.
Push and start.
Did I say 290?
Pushback and start approved.
Yes.
Ryanair 4 Sierra Papa.
Okay, so performance. We've got wind direction. (290) at 10 knots. No improved climb, runway is dry, temperature is 19, and the QNH 1024. Come on. As I mentioned, this could certainly use some improvement. Alright, now let's go ahead and have a look at the ground ops page. Our gross weight is 51.4, so let's take a weight here of 51.4. Here we go. So 39 degrees flex and the speeds 32, 33 and 40. And for the max takeoff weight limited at 56.4, so we can easily depart. Lovely. Alright, cool. Then let's go down here and cross-check. Ground up, zero fuel weight 46.3, which we've got, and that's correct. Then, back to the takeoff page, performance, 39 degrees flex,
Runway 22 right taxi, via uniform tango.
Like this, and the speeds 132, 133, 140.
Ground Scandinavian 23 Alpha, taxi to the ramp.
Scandinavian 23
Alright,
Alpha,
like
taxi
that.
departing,
And
runway 22
140
left, then Bravo 5, Bravo Romeo.
up here as well. So, GSX.
Taxi to parking. Cross runway
In the
22
meantime,
left, then Bravo
APU
5, Bravo Romeo,
stopped.
Scandinavian
Might take a little while to
23
start
Alpha.
up, so we'll just give it that time. Come on, why is GSX not reacting? You can do it, I trust you. No, I don't, but it's GSX, so just get it done. For real? Come on. Okay, looks like we need to get in our daily rant on GSX before we can depart, so what the hell is that shitty piece of program actually doing there? Absolutely lovely, isn't it? Absolutely lovely. One more attempt, maybe that's helped. No, it didn't. Okay, close that piece of shite. and killing Throttle in the background, and then we'll have to use the built-in pushback from the airplane. Okay, so roundups, let's go. For the door menu, you can close the cargo doors, you can close the one left. The GPU is still in place. Let's kill one of the packs. It's a 737 Classic, so it can only do one pack from the APU. And here we go. If we were to put on the second pack, it would simply kill the APU. So, yeah, it's a 737 Classic. Alright, why did the parking brake disengage again? I've got no idea. Not well. And chocks remove. So, one more attempt at GSX. Nope. Okay, lovely. Then we're just gonna call the standard tuck over here, and we'll be using that one. Alright, in the meantime, let's do the safety inspection checklist and the before start checklist down to the line, please. So, services and shocks, check. Maintenance status, check. Battery on. Elec hydraulic pumps on. Landing gear lever is down. Ship libraries, checked. Iris mode selectors, nav, gear pins 103 removed. Probe covers 10345 removed. Light test checked. Oxygen. We didn't do that one yet. And down here is the button. We don't hear nothing. Okay, so oxygen is broken, airplane's grounded. Fine. Alright, yaw damper on, nav transfer display switch is normal auto, fuel is 4.8 required, 4.9 aboard, 4 pumps on, fasten belts on. What's that? Galley power on, emergency exit lights armed, window heat on. So, aircon and press, packs, well, auto and off, bleeds on set, press mode selector, auto, instruments, cross checked, auto brake, RTO. Then hydraulics are normal, speed brake, down to 10, parking brake. I have no idea why that continuously releases. And look at that, that's
Scandinavian 23 Alpha, give way to the Ryanair.
So, step to normal. Step from cutoff switch is normal, wheel by fire warning checked, radius, radar and transponder, set standby, rudder and aileron trims 3 and 0, takeoff briefing discussed, PA will pretend complete, FMC CDU, set, N1 IS box, actually, that's a fair point, so let's see. On the approach page we've got 040, 129, so plus 70 is a clean speed. So, come on. That's 199, 20 knots less is our flaps 1 speed, 20 knots less is our flaps 5 speed. And then V2 is set in here. We do need V1 and rotation speed 133, and then V2 plus 10 comes in here. And that's all set. So, N1 and IS box are set. Let's see, step trim. What do we have? Well, connect the tuck, please. So we had 3 units. That's set, and just to verify, on the load page, step trim 3. Very good. Okay, so phones off, EFBs, airplane mode stood, flight windows and cockpit door are locked, doors closed, passengers seated, before start checklist complete, down to the line. Then let's get pushback clearance. Code making ground, Scandinavian 430, request pushback and startup. Transponder comes on.
Scandinavian 430, pushback and startup approved, face southwest.
Pushback and startup approved, facing southwest, Scandinavian 430. Okay, before start checklist below the line. Air compacts off, anti-collision light on, parking brake set, transponder alt off, before start checklist complete. Alright then, so parking brake is released, and then we can start the push. And backwards, please. Alright, and here we go. Since we've got to navigate the pushback ourselves, I'll just keep it at the very slow speed, so that we can actually get an engine started at first. So, let's go. Ground flight. We're starting engines 2 and 1, that sequence. Starting engine 2. So, N2. If you're wondering why the EGT is increasing, that's probably because it senses some residual heat when the electronic engine controls come online. Alright, 20%, N1, oil pressure.
Wizz Air 2252, runway 22 right, taxi via Romeo Bravo, Echo 1.
And here we go.
Runway 22 right, taxi via Romeo Bravo, Echo 1, Wizz Air 2252.
Now let's go a little bit quicker here. Can we? Doesn't look like we even can. Okay, that's fine. Got a second engine to start still. So, started cutout, monitor 2, 2 stable, starting 1. So, N2. By the way, the engine starts really good in this one. So, first you get N2, then you eventually get oil pressure, and N1 only comes in at about 20%. And look at that. That's pretty good. That's how a 737 works. Okay, and we have ignition, everything else comes up. And let's see if we can turn it. Oh, that's the wrong way around. What is it doing? Come on. Okay, stop. Start. To the side, maybe? No? Okay. Stop pushback. Then we'll disconnect over here. In the meantime, we've got 2 good engine starts, so you're clear to disconnect. Show me the pin on the front and have a good day. Bye-bye. So, disconnect that.
Roger, pushback approved. Finnair 7 Zulu.
Man, hitting that button to turn off the isolation valve is rather hard from here. Let's go over here. Now it's easy. Okay. Pressurization into flight mode. Don't forget that. That's different than... What's the airplane doing? Why is it moving? I set the parking brake, didn't I? And it's released itself. Okay. No further comments. Alright then. So, flight control checks, please. Full up. Full down. Neutral. Full left. Full right. Neutral. Rudder. Full left. Full right. And neutral. So, before taxi checklist. Generators on, APU off, start switches continuous, probe on, anti-ice off, air conditioning, PAX auto, bleeds on, isolation valve, auto, flaps. That's 5 required, and we've got 5 selected, and a green light. Stab trim, 3 units set.
Ready to taxi.
Start levers idly tent, flight controls checked, recall checked, before taxi checklist complete.
Kilo Zulu Alpha, cross runway 12, then Alpha 2.
Alright, so ground crew is gone.
Kilo Zulu Alpha, cross runway 12, then Alpha 2, Finnair 7 Zulu.
Scandinavian 430, request taxi.
Scandinavian 430, runway 22 right, taxi via Mike Zulu Alpha, cross runway 12, then Alpha 4.
Mike Zulu, Alpha, Alpha 4, holding point 2 to right, crossing runway 12 is approved, Scandinavian 430. Alright, cool. So we'll go via Mike, Zulu, Alpha, crossing is approved, and then all the way straight to the holding point.
Cross runway 12.
Crossing runway 12 approved, Scandinavian 430. Okay, so parking brake is released, clear right side, clear left side. So, looks like we do need a little bit of power to get it around the turn. on the real one, on the NG at least, but I do figure that the Classic is probably going to be very similar. You'll need about, well, 30% to get moving at low weights and about 40% N1 to get moving at, or to accelerate all the way at higher weights. So the 36% we need over here is actually quite good. This is an improvement from the last version, by the way, where I've told them, well guys, those 40% you needed earlier weren't very realistic. Now the thrust they need right now actually seems quite good. To get the airplane moving, that is. Alright, so straight at, and we're gonna go on to Zulu, so that's the second to the left hand side. In the meantime, quick reminder, for the scenery we are using Copenhagen from Sim Nord. So that's the second scenery that came available for Copenhagen next to the Fly Tampa one from FS 2020.
Contact tower on 121.83. Take care.
121.83, Scandinavian 430. Bye bye. Copenhagen Tower, Scandinavian 430.
Scandinavian 430, Castle Tower, go ahead.
For Scandinavian 430, we are crossing runway 30. Okay, crossing the runway was already approved from the ground controller, so let's turn on the strobes. So this is the hotspot here in Alpha, and we want to go onto that taxiway over there, and only onto that one. Alright, cool. Then, let's see, clear left side and clear right side. Config.
Approaching 12.
5 Kilo Lima. Winds 280 at 10. Runway 22 left. Clear to land.
And we're actually getting a config warning.
left, Turkish
Wondering what that one's for. Flaps are in 5. Spoilers are not armed. Trim. Well, let's add a tiny bit. Let's see if that makes the difference here. No, we still get the config warning, but why? We've done everything. What is that config warning for? Does it want even more trim? We are within the green band after all. This is strange, my friends. The only reason that the takeoff config warning could be triggered at this point would be a split in the flaps. So that would mean we're AOG and we gotta return to the gate. I really have no idea. I mean, they don't simulate a flap split, I do know that, so... I mean, the auto brake is not attached, but... basically the system monitors speed brakes, trims, flaps. The flight controls are set, so that's not the problem either. No idea what's causing this. Can't be anything realistic. Okay, well, let's do the before takeoff checklist to the line. Config. Yeah, can't fix it. Probably bugged. Flaps. 5 green light, step trim. So we were supposed to use 3 units and we're at 3 units now, so that should be fine. So step trim 3 units set, takeoff briefing, left seat takeoff 2 to right, flips 5, noise 2, speeds 32, 33, 40. Engine out sits straight at 25 miles, climbing 3000, MSA 1700, and the sit straight at right hand turn, contact departure when advised by air traffic control. You have any questions? No? Lovely. Then, cabin
Finnair, 7 Zulu,
is secure. Before takeoff checklist complete, down to the left.
Cross 12, Finnair 7 Zulu.
Scandinavian 430, ready for departure. I'll take my chances here. I mean, the trim is good, the flaps are good.
Scandinavian 430, runway 22 Romeo, winds 280 at 10, cleared for takeoff.
Runway 22 right, cleared for takeoff, Scandinavian 430. Okay, spoilers are definitely not armed, which would have been one more thing that could cause this. So no, I've got no idea. But well, it's gonna be fine. B4 takeoff checklist, below the line please. Come on, auto thrust, you're supposed to work. Here we go. So, MCP, set, transponder, Tara, strobe lights on, landing lights on, B4 takeoff checklist complete. You guys ready? And let's make sure the weather radar is on. And then... timing. Takeoff. No hidden toga click spot, unfortunately, so we gotta do it this way.
Turkish 9er 5 kilo
Take
Lima,
off.
contact ground on 121.9.
Disregard the warning. So, takeoff thrust set, indications normal. 80 knots, checked. Come on, airplane, shut up. B1, rotate. See, it flies totally fine. No reason for the warning at all. Positive climb. Gear up. So, 15 degrees pitch after takeoff. That's what you are supposed to need. LNAV is on. And here we go. So, passing 1000, VNAV. Flaps 1. Speed checked.
Scandinavian 430, contact departure on 118.455.
Finnair 7 Zulu holding short of
flaps
22 right,
up.
ready to go.
Scandinavian 430, over to departure. Bye-bye.
Finnair 7 Zulu, winds
Okay.
280
So,
at 10.
autopilot is
runway
on,
22
and
right,
118.455.
cleared for takeoff.
Why is the simulator
Cleared for
hanging?
takeoff 22 right, Finnair 7 Zulu.
Don't do this. Keep going. Come on, Sim. What are you doing? Hello? Are you still alive? Come on. Is it really crashing now? I can do better than this simulator. Here we go again. Interesting. So, 18455. Copenhagen departure, Scandinavian 430, passing 2700. That was a really strange lag, wasn't it? (18455) is the correct frequency. Copenhagen departure, Scandinavian 430, passing 3900, climbing level 70. Come on, man, are you trolling? So, flaps up, no lights. And release the cabin. 1000 to go. Vertical speed and set standard. What is it doing now? What on earth was that? Okay, standard once, standard twice. What's the speed doing here? Very interesting airplane behavior. Absolutely not supposed to do that. Departure, Scandinavian 430, do you read?
Scandinavian 430, Copenhagen departure identified. Climb flight level 100.
Climb flight level 100, Scandinavian 430. Man, what's my altimeters doing down here? Okay, let's fly the airplane first, and then we'll handle that right
Scandinavian
out.
430, roger. Maintain flight level 100.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, set, 100 checked, VNAV. So, one more attempt at the right-hand altimeter. How is that on 1060? Here we go. So, standard cross-check, passing flight level 72. Now. Checked. Alright, cool, then, after takeoff checklist.
Scandinavian 430, climb flight level 220.
Climbing flight level 220, Scandinavian 430. Set, 220 checked. So, after takeoff checklist, we've got, or we should have, air conditioning and pressurization. That's 3.4 climbing and set. Why is the cabin temperature at over 40 degrees? What's going on there? Come on, man. You kidding me? Okay, well, let's keep going. And altimeter standard set. After takeoff checklist complete. Took a little while, but here we are. And 10 checks. So, the fuel is balanced with 4 pumps on. Lights off, APU off, air conditioning and pressurization, 4.0,
Cabin is
climbing
ready
and
for
set.
cruising.
Fasten belts. Yeah, that
Dear
was
guests,
useful.
We have just climbed above
Okay, so fast modes auto recall checked, and that's the 10 checks complete.
Feel free to
Now we're cleared all the way up to flight level 220, which is our cruising level. We do definitely not need the chronometer any longer down here. Let's match that heading bug, 350. Here we go. And then a quick look down here. Let's increase that range a little, say 80. So we do have some time to the top of descent. Normally, or at least on the NG, you can always get that on the descent page. Very nice, a little trick to get that top of descent data early in the climb, but that's fine. We do have some time now, so let's go ahead and actually have a look into the passenger cabin of our 737 Classic. Oh, and while we're doing that, let's just take a little screenshot over here, because I do believe that this actually looks pretty nice at the moment, doesn't it? Alright, and now let's visit the back of the plane. So you may close up. So, lavatories. Yes, they do have lavatories over here. Not with a mirror, but nonetheless, typical 737 lav. And yes, you can open that toilet and you can flush it. So yes, that is a working toilet flush, my friends. Alright, apart from that, as you can see, the textures are not as good back here in the galley as they would have been in the flight deck. Now, it would have been nice if they had actually placed the straps around the doors when they armed the slides. Now let's move back a little bit and have a look. So, overhead lockers, you cannot open them in here, but in my opinion you don't really need that anyway. Now let's take a seat on one of the seats over here. It's an all economy layout in here. That's what everything looks like. In my opinion, it's not the best modeling that we've seen in the cabin. Maybe on par with the CRJ or something the likes. But then again, I'm not too much of a cabin fan, so it's kinda fine for me. Now something that I think a couple of you will probably find notable.
Contact Copenhagen Control on 136.485.
136.485, Scandinavian 430, bye. Alright, I'll do that one in the background, through the Sane Tensions app directly. At least I would do it if it let me. Looks like this airplane is blocking it, so we've got to set it manually. So 136.485. Hey, what is it doing? Something strange here when I'm doing inputs here. So 136.485. Come on. Come on. Copenhagen Control, Scandinavian 430, passing level 195, climbing 220. So, double Wiesma, not supposed to have that.
Identified. Goddag.
Here we go, that's better. Including the arrival now. Okay, so, just very quick march back into the cabin. Just to give you an idea on what the passenger service units look like, and then we've pretty much seen the cabin. Well, and this is what it looks like up here. It's, yeah, not the highest level of detail, but then again, in my opinion, fine, but I'm sure some of you will say, nah, that should be more detailed in an aircraft in Flight Sim 2024, especially an aircraft that comes at this price point. And yes, I can somewhat understand that. Alright, so 1,000 to go, and we've already got VNAV paths, so I'm not going to change the modes here anymore. Let's shut the door and take a seat on the captain's seat once again. Now let's go ahead and have a quick setup for our arrival. So first thing first, weather.
Scandinavian 430, Copenhagen Control, expect the Ryzen 3 Tango arrival. I'll have you descending in just a moment.
Risma 3 Tango arrivals on Scandinavian 430. Alright, we planned Sierra, so let's quickly go ahead and change that one. So, departure arrival, Gothenburg arrival, ILS 21 is going to remain. And then we need the Risma 3 Tango. Down here it is, and execute. Alright, great. Now that we know this already, let's go ahead and start our setup.
Scandinavian 430, cleared Rhythm 3 Tango arrival into Landvetter. When you're ready, descend flight level 160.
Rhythm 3 Tango, when ready, descend level 160, Scandinavian 430.
Gentlemen, we have now reached cruising altitude on Scandinavian Airlines flight.
Okay, level 160 is set.
Heading from Copenhagen to Gothenburg. We will begin our snap.
Scandinavian 430, descend flight level 160, Rhythm 3 Tango arrival acknowledged.
Exit sandwiches.
Oh god, no, nothing acknowledged. We gotta teach him to do better than that. So, Risma 3 Tango, we'll pin that one for the approach. It's going to be an ILS approach runway 21. And then we need some taxi charts as well, which are namely going to be airport. And do we need Pakistan coordinates? No? Is it all on here? No, there should be a dedicated parking chart. But where are the parking stands? That's just the coordinates? Oh, nicely hidden down here. But here we go, that's all we need. So, for our arrival, we are basically going towards Maxiv, and thereafter we will get radar vectors. Looking at this, Risma doesn't have any restriction onto L-books and then to Maxiv. And we've got Risma, L-books and Maxiv. Now, let's bring up the plan mode over here. And have a look. So, Risma, L-book, Maxiv. And then from there onto the final. Let's bring out the ILS chart. So, Golf 404, maximum 200 knots. And we do have that one, and then we continue via Fox 21. And then, let's see, we do have 3 degrees glide, outer marker. Man, they still have an outer marker over here. Who's using stuff like that? So, let's turn on the markers. Okay, for the final altitude at 1730, minimum 706, we can already set that up. And here we go. Now, let's see, that equates 200 feet radio, and that's already selected over here. Alright, in case of go-around, straight at 3000, then radar vectoring for a new approach, and in here's straight at vectors. Well, 3000 should have been in here as a restriction. Here we go, now it's in here as well. Lovely. Alright, cool. Now, 260 for the descent, maybe a little bit slow, let's do that a bit faster, say 300. Alright, 250 below 10,000 is fine. Forecast. Do we really need to enter something? I suppose we do. So, 200, 100, let's get the flight plan. So, 250 at 12. And 265 at 8. Here we go, QNH. So, 1021. Why is that an invalid entry? 1021 is absolutely valid. It shouldn't need that slash, it should work without it. So, transition 18,000 at 1021. Let's see, altitude 5, yeah, then 6,000 is the transition level. Cool.
Scandinavian 430, contact Sweden control on 131.28.
13128, Scandinavian 430. Sweden control, Scandinavian 430, level 220, when ready descending 160.
Scandinavian 430, Sweden control identified for common.
Okay, cool. So, that's our setup in the FMS done. Then let's go up here. Final approach course 202. And frequencies 1085. Set twice. Alright, so frequencies, courses, minimums, and everything else is checked. Lovely. Then we are ready to go. And we can start our approach briefing. And of course, before I forget it, auto brake 3. Good. Very good. Okay, so let's continue on and start the briefing. And that's going to be for you, my friends. A little bit of weather coming up over there, by the way. But nothing on the radar for the time being. Alright, so, we are going to fly the Risma 3 Tango arrival for an ILS approach runway 22, MSA 3200, and the minimum 702, which we can set on this side here as well. Now, for the extra fuel and time, let's see. So 3.7, 4.2, 3.7 is in here, and performance 2.7, so we've got 1,000 kilos extra, giving us about half an hour. So the approach is going to be flown with flight director guidance, config 30, where is it? Come on, approach. Here we go, flaps 30, 133 knots, which is basically already completely set up down here. So here we go, that's our setup completely done. Apart from that, nothing special, nothing non-standard. I'll reverse, vacate to the right, and that's it. Any questions? No? Lovely, then that's our briefing completed. So let's say bye-bye to our passengers. Ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck, this is your captain speaking. In a few moments we will start our descent towards Gothenburg. Remaining flight time is now about 15 minutes. The weather over there currently a little bit cloudy, temperatures of about 16 degrees. Would like to thank you for choosing Scandinavian Airlines for today's flight. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we did, and we look forward to welcoming you again on board of future service. Thank you very much, and we wish you a nice and safe onwards journey. Cool. So, descent checklist please. Pressurization. Land out. That's 500. NEIS off. Approach beam fuel discussed. IS null box checked and set. And that's the descent checklist complete. Okay, cool. So, we're cleared down to level 160. And once we reach the top of descent, which is going to be in a moment, it will automatically start that descent. Lovely. 19 minutes in the air. Let's see. Arrival at 12:09. So in 17 minutes. Well, things are going quick on these short flights. I can tell you that. Can absolutely tell you that. By the way, why is the airplane flying so incredibly slow? Look at that. Target speed 286. And it's flying like what? 245. The descent speed target is even higher than that. Alright, so reaching the top of descent, VNAV is doing its job. And here we go, starting the descent. Very smooth. That's nice. That's really nice. Very, very smooth indeed. And all of that without losing the path. That's impressive. It's really impressive. I wonder the speed target should be a little bit better. Okay, seatbelts coming on, and as we're about to enter icing conditions, engine anti-ice on, please. And here we go, engine anti-ice is on. Now, the temperature in the cabin has improved a lot as well. Yeah, that looks better. Should still be automatic, so let's just put it back there, see what's gonna happen. Okay, cool. So, a couple of screenshots here, while we can. That looks cool, doesn't it?
Scandinavian 430, Sweden control, descend flight level 110.
Descending flight level 110, Scandinavian 430. Set. 110 checked. Alright, so it's definitely ignoring my speed input, but let's keep it at that. Let's pretend that it isn't.
Scandinavian 430, descend flight level 060.
Scandinavian 430, descend flight level 060. Alright, lowest usable flight level, and set. 060 checked.
Scandinavian 430, descend altitude 6,000 feet, QNH 1021.
Descend altitude 6,000, QNH 1021, Scandinavian 430. You wouldn't hear that often, but ATC can do that. So 1021, set once, set twice, and
Scandinavian 430.
3 times.
Contact Göteborg, approach on 124.205.
124.205, Scandinavian 430. Gothenburg approach, Scandinavian 430, passing level, correction, passing altitude 14,600, descending 6,000.
Scandinavian 430, Gothenburg approach, identified. Good afternoon. Expect the ILS runway 21 approach into Landvetter.
Expecting the ILS runway 21, Scandinavian 430. Okay, so ILS 21 is expected. Let's see, the airport should be just about on our right, so with a bit of luck we can actually see it already. No, not yet. Lovely terrain though. Gotta say, it looks good over here. Looks really good. Look at that, man. Wow.
Scandinavian 430, descend altitude 3500. Turn right heading 360 vectors for the ILS runway 21 approach.
Scandinavian 430, descend altitude 3500, turn right heading 360, expect ILS 21. I have no idea why it's flying that slowly. Come on, give me 250. Okay, so set 3500 checked, level change, and heading select. And this is better, isn't it? Okay, so beautiful graphics over here. I just wish that I just wish VNAV would be a little bit more reliable. Look at that. Yep, that's Gothenburg down there. Now let's take a quick moment to talk about the sounds, because we haven't talked about them just yet. Sounds on this airplane, well, are a bit mixed. They do show a lot of good potential in my opinion, but we should definitely hear a little bit more of a low frequency hum during flight when the engines are running. And in general, I think that we don't hear the engines, we don't hear too many of the avionic fans. That could all be improved somewhat. So in my opinion, sounds, yeah, they could use a little bit of improvement here. But I'm sure that they will still be working on those. Alright, so altimeters. Passing 10,000 now, descending 3,500, 10 checks. Fuel is balanced with 4 pumps on lights. We're on. Angle of bank is 25
Captain, cabin is ready.
degrees. Air conditioner and pressurization. 3.0 descending and set. Fasten belts on. Recall are checked and 1 to 1.5 is deselected. 10 checks complete. Alright then. So, engine anti-ice can go back off. It's 10 degrees anyway now. A little hard to find that click spot again. Oh, come on. Here we go. And here we go. Lovely. Alright, cool. So, let's do a frisk check. And I think we still have to get the ident, do we? So, we have the identifier over here. Let's give it a short moment. See if the airplane can identify the ILS by itself. If it can't, we have to do it manually. And it looks like we have to do it manually. Okay, so...
Scandinavian 430. Turn right heading 040.
Turn right heading 040, Scandinavian 430. Okay, so... what's that? Nav 1 audio is on. It's not receiving anything. Lovely. But well, we'll just pretend that we've heard the idents, okay? So, frequencies 108.5 are cross-checked, idents checked, rings 25 miles. So, standby instruments are set and the course is 202. Approach checklist, please. Altimeters and instruments, cross-checked. Approach rates checked and set. Approach checklist complete. Alright, so basically we are ready for base turn any moment. Now, a small word on aircraft performance over here. I do think it's descending a little bit quickly. Normally, 737, you should be looking at about 1500 to 1600 feet a minute on idle, but 2000 seems a bit much for my taste. Okay, so ready for base turn any moment. Is there another aircraft? Well, that one seems to be on the ground. Is there any airport over there? No. Okay, 1000 to go. Vertical speed. It went into Altiquire already. Fine.
Scandinavian 430. Turn right, heading 060.
Turn right, heading 060, Scandinavian 430. Alright then, let's have a little bit of fun. Turn that autopilot off. And do some manual flight here. Nope. That was bad timing. So, down to 3,500.
Scandinavian 430. 8 miles from Gulf. Gulf 404. Turn right heading 140, descend altitude 2. 500 until established on the localizer. Cleared for the ILS runway 21 approach.
Scandinavian 430, turn right heading 140, descend 2,500 feet, cleared ILS 21. Alright. So, you can give me Golf 404 on top, please. Execute. So, speed 220. And that looks like good indications to me. Approach armed. And I will turn a little bit further here onto proper intercept heading of 180. Altiquire. A little bit early for my taste. Alright, so let's talk about how the airplane flies, because I gotta say it actually flies fairly nicely manually. It is pretty reactive, just like a 737 would be, and it flies, let's say, very friendly. I think that's a good way to describe this. It's really a joy to hand fly. Really is. So, look at that. Very nice and easy to trim. Maintains the flight path when it should. It's just banking a little bit, but then again, it's a Boeing. Those things never fly straight.
Contact Landvetter Tower on 118.605.
118.605, Scandinavian 430. Bye. Come on. Here we go. Landvetter Tower, Scandinavian 430, established ILS 21. Almost, at least.
Scandinavian 430, Yoke Tower, runway 21, cleared for the ILS approach.
Yeah, we are cleared for the ILS approach already. We're established on it. So, Warlock captured. Romeo heading 202. Glide slope capture. Goron altitude 3000 and flaps 1. Speed checked.
Scandinavian 430, winds 230 at 9er, runway 21, cleared to land.
Runway 21, cleared land, Scandinavian 430. Alright, cool, landing gear down. Ah, this is annoying, the gear warning. Okay, flaps 5. Here we go. That silence is nicer, isn't it? Come on. So, speed brake armed. Are clear to land. A little bit too much hand flying and doing everything at the same time. That's where a second pilot would be really helpful now. Alright, so we're back on the glide. Flaps 15. So 133 was the approach, then 138 is going to be final. Checked. And flaps 30.
1000.
Yeah.
Approaching 2.
Alright,
1.
landing checklist. Start switches. Continuous. Recall. Checked. Speed brake on green light. Landing gear down 3 green. Auto brake 3 set. Flaps 30, 30 green light. Landing lights on. Landing checklist complete. And that's right about at the gate. Of course, this could have been nicer, but hey, it works. We are where we wanted to be. Come on, plane. Why are you not descending?
500.
Approaching minimum. Checked. Minimum. Continue. So, speed brake up, thruster is normal. 60 knots, manual brakes. That auto brakes is all strong. And for some reason I couldn't disable it by hitting my manual brakes. Okay, guys, the auto brake is too strong in this one. Much too strong. Okay, so we actually gotta let it... What runway did we use? Yeah, we'll let that slide, huh? We'll definitely let that one slide.
Scandinavian 430, contact ground on 121.905.
121.905, Scandinavian 430.
Welcome to Gothenburg. We hope you enjoyed your flight with us today. Did you know that...
Ground Scandinavian 430, request taxi to gate 23 Alpha. Ooh, simulator is lagging. What is it doing again?
2:30 p.m. from Gate 5, and flight SK 5678 to Oslo departs at 2:45 p.m. from Gate 7. Thank you.
Scandinavian 430, taxi to gate 23A, cross runway 21, then Delta Yankee Lima.
Delta Yankee Lima, gate 23 Alpha, Scandinavian 430. Okay, so, not sure why it said cross runway 21, but apart from that, we made it to the right direction.
Scandinavian 430, taxi to gate 23A via Delta Yankee Lima.
Don't repeat yourself. Delta Yankee Lima, gate 23 Alpha, Scandinavian 430. Please. Alright, good. So we're on Yankee over here. Then we need Lima, which is the first to the right, and then across the apron to the gate 23 Alpha. Good. So, after landing procedures, please. Okay, so Lima is on the right hand side. Let's see if we can get any GSX. Okay, daily rant about GSX number 2. What the hell is that shitty piece of program doing? Literally paid like 35 bucks and it's not even loading the menu. Like, how? No beta testing, no nothing, huh? But well, here we are, and we've made it to Gothenburg. So instead of talking about GSX and annoying ourselves about GSX, let's rather talk about the Boeing 737. And well, what can I say? CSS 737-500, first flight. What's my general impression then? So, in general, the aircraft makes a rather okay impression as a work in progress, and definitely have to emphasize the work in progress over here. The developers themselves say that as well, though. They say the airplane is a continued commitment, and that would be the prime reason why they're offering it in a subscription model, in order to not just encourage the customers to get the airplane, but also to encourage the developers to continue working on the airplane in order to actually make money from it. We'll just leave that stand. Obviously there is a one-time purchase license available as well, which is rather expensive though, so we'll just leave that uncommented any further. You guys can make up your own opinion about that and share it down there in the comments. Now, for the airplane itself, the systems are actually quite okay. They are doing pretty much what they're supposed to be. The engine start is actually the closest CFM56 engine start that I've seen in Flight Simulator just yet. The flight model is enjoyable, even though there are still a couple of bugs that I hope they are going to eventually iron out. Now, apart from that, we've got, as Airbus pilots would say, nothing special and non-standard here. The plane flies the way it's supposed to fly. A couple of things that are still worthy of improvement. I think the thrust required on approach is probably a little bit too high at the moment. But then again, considering that the developers themselves claim the airplane to be work in progress, I think that's fine. Visuals in the cockpit are good. The airplane is a little bit heavy on performance though. It looks quite good from the outside as well, but only when you look at it from a bit of a distance. I'm going to show you in a few moments here. We've got 2 blue, 1 red engines dead. So let's shut it down and then we'll go to the outside, having a very close look at the model. So, that's off, that's off, that's off. You can come online. I will take the APU bleed as well. Then we gotta turn off one of the packs. So, both engines are below 20%. And here we go. What? The parking brake released again. Come on. Get online, stay online. So, ground ups. Let's see. Doors. We are gonna get chocks. And once those are in place, we'll also grab ourselves an external power unit. In the meantime, you can open up the doors. And here we go, GPU on request. Lovely, so parking checklist, or rather transit shutdown checklist. Electrical on APU, fast melts off, probe heat off, anti-ice off, air conditioning packs set, engine bleeds on, APU bleed on, exterior lights set, start switches off. And here's our power. Good. So, start switch is off, auto brake off, speed brake down to 10, flaps up and light, parking brake released, start levers cut off, weather radar off, transponder, let's go, 2000 and stand by, radar and aileron trims 3 and 0, and well, flight deck door unlocked, transit shutdown checklist complete. Alright, so now let's go out and just have that closer look to the airframe that I promised you. As mentioned, from the distance it looks quite good, but when you're getting like really close up, then yeah, they can still improve that a little bit. Especially the part where you can see like where the edges are on the fuselage here. Like you really see, there's a polygon, there's one, there's one, there's one. Like down here, look at that. That definitely needs some rounding out in the most literal sense of the word. Apart from that though, the wheel bay, yeah, is okay for what we're getting here. A little look into the cargo hold is actually okay, provided they are going to remove those remnants of the actual cargo door. So as you can see, it's a little bit of an open item, the entire outside of the plane, and they should do some improvements over here. But then again, it does show us some good signs already, so I'm sure with a little bit more work, that stuff is actually going to improve as well. Alright, so overall, how would I rate the CSS Boeing 737-500? Well, it very clearly is work in progress, and I do appreciate that you can try it out for very small money yourself, and that's actually what I would recommend everyone to do when you ask me about a purchase recommendation. So the plane does show some pretty good signs. I'm sure it is going to develop into something good as time progresses, but you should give it a try yourself and see how you like it, and if the good things that are in place already are enough for you to warrant buying either a long-time subscription or buying the airplane full price, or if you say, nah, I'd much rather wait a little bit and see how the airplane evolves. If you choose that option, then luckily it's possible by going just for that 1 month $5 subscription every now and then, seeing how the airplane evolves and seeing if it ever reaches a state where you say that it's worth the full price for your personal taste. Well, and that's pretty much my summary of today's video, so thank you very much for watching. I do hope you found it interesting. Be sure to leave your comments underneath the video, and if you really love what I'm doing on this channel, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one.